Hey, what's up, family? Thank you for joining my YouTube channel. My name is Clinton Etz. If this is your first time coming to my channel, I just appreciate the support. If you will, hit the like button, share, or subscribe. Do your thing, and I appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, just put them in the comment section, man, and I'll get to you. If you have any subjects that you want me to talk about, I'll get to that too, and that might be in the next video. Other than that, let's just get right into it. The subject of today, or the opinion that I just have, is I just want to talk about ESPN, honestly. I mean, hate it or love it, they're the number one sports broadcasting channel, or whatever you want to call it. They just are. They just there all the time. Some of their opinions, some of their tastes are not the best. Some of the time they have good taste, and they spark a lot of conversation across the nation, across the globe, especially internationally. And that's just what we're here for, honestly. That we just always going to hear about ESPN. You can't help but to download the app. I got it right there on my phone. I'm sure a lot of you have it too. But there's always sometimes where I just don't agree with the way that they're doing it. I don't agree with their process, especially when it comes to different sports. Now with the NBA, you already know what you're getting with the NBA. Majority of the time it's going to talk about LeBron James because they crown LeBron James as the best basketball player in the NBA right now. He's the face of the league, and a majority of analysts are now saying that he's the greatest of all time, which we're not going to get into that debate. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Sometimes they'll sprinkle in some Brooklyn Nets because they're the Nets team up, and then everybody else will just fall into the cracks, and we'll just see how it goes. They don't go about it the way that they should with the NBA. You think they will talk about the Milwaukee Bucks a lot more, but they're not really exciting. That's not really where they make their money, I guess. So they just gravitate to LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers, or Brooklyn Nets, or just anything in general that's a hot piece or a hot take. But with the NFL, it's a lot different. They're very consistent, but I think consistent in a bad way. They want everything to be rushed. Like, everything is rushed in the NFL. Everything doesn't have value. Everything is just a particular individual, a particular number, and that's really about it. If you're not consistent in NFL, if you're not a consistent, successful player, borderline, if not a Hall of Famer, then they're not going to think of you as a great player or a superstar, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. Lately, ESPN has been making lists about certain quarterbacks that have been under pressure, certain quarterbacks that they don't feel like are superstars, or they're kind of scrubs, honestly. And I just don't agree with that list. I don't agree with what they do. If you're not Tom Brady, if you're not Patrick Mahomes, then you don't fall into the superstar category. And I feel like that's not fair for a lot of the quarterbacks, especially a league. I think, if anything, this is a great time for that QB position. I don't think nothing wrong with it. Well, majority of the quarterbacks in the league, except a few. And that's just the case. I mean, you can go back a couple years ago. There was a handful of quarterbacks that were great. Like, you can tell and say, hey, that's a great quarterback. That's a superstar quarterback. If you put him in the right spot, you put him on the right team, or you build around him, you got a championship contender. And I mean, if you watched the game last night with Dallas Cowboys and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you saw. I mean, Tom Brady and Dak were going blow for blow, and Tom Brady made a couple more mistakes than Dak did. I think Tom Brady threw for like 2 interceptions, and granted, that's not nothing, especially when you go further into the season. No one's looking at that, but for the first game, like, they looked neck and neck for sure. They looked like they were gunning for each other. And, there was no defense played. I mean, that was not a defensive game. Dallas Cowboys don't have the best defense. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm a little bit shocked that they were getting scored to almost 30 points. But it was just not a defensive game. It was just an offensive threat type of game. You were just seeing what the offense could do. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers pulled out with the win. There was a couple calls I feel like weren't made, but at the end you got a 31-28 game, and it felt like a Super Bowl feeling, and it was just an amazing first game to watch. But ESPN, especially Stephen A. Smith, they'll find a way to joke the Dallas Cowboys. They'll find a way to say that it was a mistake. They did some things wrong, and I don't think they did. I don't think Dak Prescott did anything wrong. I think he showcased that he is, if not superstar, he's really worth the money. Same with a lot of other quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, he's worth the money. I don't think nothing's wrong with what he's doing right now. He is doing everything that he can for that franchise. He do that every single year. He has weapons. I just don't think he has the right coach. And no one really talks about Pete Carroll. No one talks about what he do. But I would have fired him as soon as he made that mistake with Marshawn Lynch when he was at the 1 yard line and you didn't give it to him. I'm surprised he still has a job. And I'm just being honest with you. I'm very surprised he still has a job. And people don't really, point the right finger at the right people. They just, put all the responsibility on certain superstar players. And then if they don't perform, then you got to get up out of there and no one hears anything about you. It's like that with Russell Wilson. They talk about Tua pretty badly, and Tua's only had one season, and he's with the Miami Dolphins. I mean, have you seen that team? What other things do they have? Really? What other talent do they have? Tua is the only talent. Just like if I badmouth Deshaun Watson is the only talent. What other person he has to throw to? He had DeAndre Hopkins. They got rid of him. I mean, wasn't Will Fuller on that team too? They got rid of him. He has no offensive weapons. None. He doesn't even have any defensive weapons. There's nobody there. The Miami Dolphins haven't been relevant since Ndamukong Suh was on the team. When he was on the team, they were decent. And the only reason why they was on ESPN is because Ndamukong Suh was stepping on folks. Other than that, that's really about it. And they just do that a lot, man. Aaron Rodgers, there's nothing he did wrong. Granted, he won a Super Bowl a while back, but he's done his part. I mean, at one time, he was planning retirement. That's not a person that's under pressure. That's a person that was just dragged out of bed because the franchise didn't have anybody else to replace him. I mean, if Drew Brees was still in the league, I'm sure they would probably find a way to say something about him. I don't get it. I really don't. James Winston is not under pressure either. I mean, he's under a little bit, but it's not like too much. He won the starting quarterback role. You know exactly what you're getting from him. He has a good team around him. Alvin Kamara, you have Michael Thomas. I mean, you got a great defensive team on the other side of the ball. All he got to do is throw a couple of passes and give the ball mostly to Alvin Kamara, and he should be fine. I mean, that's one of those teams where you can have an average quarterback. You can have a quarterback like Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger out there, and there should be no problem. There should be no problem. No one talks about Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know why, but I feel like it's time for him to go. But we're just going to leave that for another video. I'm not going to say too much about that, but that's just my opinion. No one talks about him, but it's time for him to retire too. I don't know why he's still around. But yeah, I just don't get why ESPN does that. They try to push the narrative too quickly. They don't give everybody, a certain time frame that they need to work. They need to grow. You just can't sit there and say Tua is going to be a scrub, and he's only had one season. I don't even think he had a full season to prepare. Then, I mean, they're going to say Trevor Lawrence is a scrub because he's on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, let's just be real. Who does he have on there? Who does he have on there? Nobody. I really don't know. I don't know why ESPN does that. There's a lot of quarterbacks that they feel kind of iffy about. I know the quarterback on the Eagles, what is it? Jalen. I don't know what they're going to say about Jalen as well because he's on the Eagles. Eagles has deteriorated since their Super Bowl run. They're not the same team they were back then. So instead of saying that their team is a scrub, or their owners are scrubs, or they need to do this, that, and third to build around them. No one's saying nothing. Everybody just want to put responsibility on the quarterback, and I'll never understand that. I get it that they're the leaders. I get it that they shoulder the load of the offense, but no, there's a lot that comes into building a team, and they should know that they're professionals. They're media professionals. Other than that, that's all I really gotta say on that subject. I'll leave it because I can go about that subject for hours. If you have any questions or comments, just leave in the comment section. I appreciate y'all putting in the time and the effort to watch my video. Other than that, I appreciate it. Thank y'all for the support.